Hi, everybody. This is Kevin from The Kevin Lee Show, and I just wanted to welcome you to my podcast. And if you've been here before and you've heard my podcast and you're now returning, then I want to welcome you back to my podcast. I also wanted to take a quick moment just to touch base with you and talk to you about my website, which is thekevinleeshow.com. That's thekevinleeshow.com. And the reason why I wanted to mention it to you is it's kind of like a central hub of all my stuff. So if you're ever interested in either listening to my podcast, reading my blogs, watching my videos, or just checking me out on social media, you can find all the information and all the links right there. But without further ado, it's time for the podcast. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time it might be, wherever you may be. Welcome to The Kevin Lee Show. Alrighty, everybody. I just wanted to take a second here before I get going and apologize first off if my voice sounds a little scratchy or if I have to pause from time to time to take some water because where I live, it is springtime and my allergies are going a little haywire. Also, if you hear any little voices or banging or noises in the background, that's just my two little ones. So ignore them. And if it annoys you, sorry. Anyways, here's the blog. Labels, labels, labels. It's a Jan thing. Does a label by any other name sting as much? No, serious question. Does it? And while we're on the subject, why do labels hurt so much? Oh, they don't? BS. I suppose when someone calls you ugly, fat, plain, stupid, old, close-minded, misandrous, misogynist, those words don't bother you at all. Right. They bother you for the same reason they bother me. Or anyone else for that matter. Because when someone decided to single you out and call you a name, it began to chip away at the armor that you've developed to protect your psyche and your self-esteem. In other words, words hurt. Period. They hurt if they are true, and they hurt if they are not. Now, I know that sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. But this out-of-date children's rhyme is simply just not true. Let me ask you a question. Do you know why you were taught to say that as a kid? To overcome the negative feelings that those harmless words stir up inside of us. That's why. It's a psychological coping tool designed to help you keep your cool instead of walking over to the jerk who said them to you and punching them in the face. It's a trick. Ha! Nice try, psychology. I ain't buying. Someone's getting thumped. Okay, not really. You should never punch anyone, especially just for saying something to you, no matter how terribly rude they are being. But hey, a guy can dream, right? Anyway, obviously there is more than just one reason that words hurt. Sometimes it's because someone keeps saying the same thing over and over again to you, and that repetition really can add up, developing a special kind of torment. Sometimes it's because of a person close to you, a person that means something more to you than almost anyone else, calls you something or says words to you that go below the belt, and these words sting more than they would have if they had come from someone else, anyone else. And even worse, sometimes words hurt us, again, not because they are true, but because we start to believe them in despite the fact that they aren't true. This might very well be the worst case scenario. Why? It's easy to tell ourselves, so-and-so is just being a jerk. Or, she just said that because she was mad. She doesn't mean it. But when you actually start believing something, it ends up living in your head. And ultimately, you become the one starting to use those words. You can escape and get away when insults are coming from the outside. Not so much when they are coming from within. The mind is a finicky thing. In fact, many experts believe that psychological pain is often worse than physical pain, because physical pain will pass, you heal, at least mostly, and you can move on, whereas psychological pain is invisible and very hard to diagnose and treat, and at times nearly impossible. Arguably, cognitive issues may be even worse than physical because others around you can't see your pain and therefore don't realize that you are suffering. For example, when Mikey comes into the office on Monday with a cast on his leg, everyone feels sorry for him and offers to help. But when little Susie comes in overwhelmed with thoughts of suicide and depression, well then, all she receives is just looks and weird stares, and people talking behind her back. I don't think that's really going to help little Susie's state of mind, do you? As you can imagine, name-calling, hurling insults, bullying, whatever you choose to call it, can and usually will have consequences on their intended targets. So, what can be done about it? Well, for starters, don't start doing it to others in the first place. Not only can it have long-term effects, but studies have shown that most bullied people end up becoming bullies themselves somewhere down the road. This occurs because they were picked on by someone, then they lash out and attack somebody in turn. To borrow a phrase, hurt people hurt people. Therefore, curbing your words and behavior is an excellent place to start. Now, I know that right now you're probably thinking that calling someone a name, well, if the shoe fits, and labeling them for who or what they are really isn't a big deal, especially if it's just between friends. Besides, it's normal and everyone does it, so man up and grow a set, mama's boy. See, perfect example. Virtually anyone can and will insult other people. It's easy and most people do it without even trying. Basically, everyone does it. But just because everyone is doing it, that doesn't mean that it's okay. Now, does it? If your friend shotgunned 12 beers in an hour, does that give you license to do the same? Don't answer that. Better yet, just stop hanging out with that person. The answer is obviously no, it doesn't. And why? Because that's them and you are you. Just because they choose to make a poor decision does not mean that you have to follow suit. Ding, ding, ding. Winner, winner. Correct. And just because everyone else has normalized name-calling, bullying, labeling, whatever you choose to call it, does not mean that it's okay and that you should do it too. You know what I mean? So, the next time that you find yourself ready to label someone or call them a name, just take a quick moment and think, how would that make me feel if someone said that to me? That's all I'm asking. It's not all that difficult, really. Give it a try. Thanks for taking the time to read and listen. Kevin.